folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming, and welcome to The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to compete and enjoy in this wonderful hobby of ours. Today we have a bonus episode as Dr. Kyle McCord returns to the podcast to give us a preview of his list for the World Championships of Warhammer 40,000 in Atlanta. Let's get to it.
Okay, so Kyle McCord just drop-potted in from orbit with a report from the front lines. Kyle, what's up, man? I haven't seen you since Salt Lake City a few weeks ago.
Yeah, of all places, right? And it was, it was great to meet in person, and there were other Dark Angels players there too, right? So we got to chat a little bit with James Walsh, and there was someone else who did quite well with Dark Angels. So it's been good. I've been playing RTTs. I've been testing things out, and the big event I think all of us are watching is Worlds. Worlds coming up in 2 weeks.
Nice. Yep. And you said you were going to that.
I am out in Atlanta. It is an event that I love, and it's my second time taking Dark Angels. The first time I went, I took Black Templars, and it was great. Second time I took Dark Angels, and I had some things that went better, some things that went worse, but came out about even. And this time I'm feeling real good about the list. Definitely since we played at Challengers, at Challengers we had just gotten the slate.
Yeah.
Right? And so
it was like we had the captains had to vote on it. It was so new. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you and I brought pretty different lists, so I'm definitely excited to hear some of your insights as well. The list I'm bringing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, we covered what I did on the last episode, so I don't want to rehash that for anybody else. But the thing I saw about your list from Challengers Cup was you leaned straight up into the land speeder vengeances, and I wanted to hear your opinion as to why. And you run it down and tell us, kind of where you were trying to niche in the team's environment and what your role was.
Yeah. So part of my role on the team, so we borrow this idea from Art of War, which is the brawler, beater, blunter, right? A blunter, their job is we're going to throw you into the guy who is 20-0 all his opponents, right? And we want you to just hold the line, get an 8, get a 7, put a dent in their score, right? If you get a 10, that's great, right? A brawler is someone that's what my role was. My role is to get the 13s, get the 14s, right? Something in there. That's like the optimal. And then a beater is going for the 20-0s, right? And how much love you get in the pairings process is directly correlated with those things. If you are a blunter, expect to get the bad match, right? Where it's like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to hold it as hard as I can. That's why you build a list that always hovers around that. So as a brawler, my job is to try and run up the score really hard, right? And so if I can, I go for that. I go for those big numbers. But a lot of times what I'm doing is just trying to find, let's put it that way, weaknesses in the lists that are out there. And look, it's not a perfect system. There was one time they threw me in and they were like, you got to just work with it, right? And I was like, okay, cool, let's try it, right? My opponent, Brian Doherty, maybe one of the best world leaders players in the world, was like, do you have the lion? I was like, no. And he's like, cool, I'll take the match. And I was like, I read that as a bad sign, right? Which it was.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. And then
I have to look now. God, I think I played him too.
Quite good.
Yeah, because I
we
got
won the
20-0'd by a
round.
World Eater player, I think named Brian, in the 6th round, and it was a educational experience.
He's a very good player, and
Yeah.
he managed to move his Khorne Berserkers. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic to say 40 inches, and that, by the way, is related to why the Landspeeder Vengeance came out of my list. So I put it in, I took it out. It's a good vehicle, and like in no way would I argue that as a unit is weak. The problem is it's really large, guys. It's quite large,
Yeah.
and so when the World Eaters were like, okay, we're gonna pop 6-inch consolidate, it was just like choop 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 choop. They just moved all the way around it and like almost touched my back line. They touched my intercessors, which were on the back part of my objective, and I was like, okay, can't do that with a hammer strike. Hammer strike, round base, normal size. The Landspeeder Vengeance is interesting because the twin linked is a big selling point, and I think that most of the time it will outperform plasma scepters. But I also think that plasma scepters are the worst version of that data sheet in general. I think the Bolter Inceptors are almost always better. And I'm not the only one who thinks that, right? I've talked with Jack Harpster a lot about this. He's heard all my Dark Angels ideas on repeat, and he's played Plasma Scepters in his. All right, so the thing I can say about it is that as a unit, it's a good unit. It's good, but again, it will outperform Plasma Scepters. But Jack, who played Plasma Scepters in his Inheritors list, where they get a lot of bonuses, he was still like, yeah, they blow themselves up a lot. Even if you put them, like in our case, we put them in a line or something.
Yeah.
Right? They blow themselves up a lot, and they are just at just low enough of strength that they won't usually kill like a really hard target. Even if you can, if you're like bound and determined to play them, right? They're good with +2 strength. I wouldn't argue otherwise. You're just going to end up burning a lot of CP, and at that point, maybe take Eradicators or something. But to go back to it, the Landspeeder Vengeance, ultimately, I think it is very fast. It shoots very hard. One of them almost made it into my worlds list, and it got cut because I thought the Hammer Strike was better. I think the Hammer Strike is better. I think the Hammer Strike is less consistent, but it almost always will get more shots, and it buffs the rest of the army. That was what I came away with.
Yeah.
I think for anti vehicle, I still like Dev Centurions, and the rest of the meta has caught up with me, right? Raven Guard is running.
Oh no!
Yeah, Raven Guard's running them. The worst part is, guys, you gotta if you see Raven Guard, you gotta beat that list because they are gonna get us nerfed for sure, right? Like if that list turns out to be really good, they use all the same stuff that we do. They use Vanguard Vets, they use Dev Centurions, right? There was something else on their list where I was like, that's just like copy paste of what
You're talking about the new one with Ethan Shan?
Yeah. I played against it last night. That list is no joke. It has just like more stuff than you think it should. Oh, Inceptors. If they could get any one of those 3 data sheets nerfed if they turn out to like be really good, right? So if you see a Raven Guard player, do yourself a favor, win that match.
and
keep the win percentage low. Yeah, absolutely.
What was the idea that originally made you take the multiple vengeances?
Okay, sorry about that.
Lighting's changed. Look at this.
Landspeeder Vengeance is a generically good data sheet. It just like it is very fast. As far as shooting goes, it's twin linked, which is huge. The blast helps, and then it's obnoxious enough to remove because of the 5-up that it's worth taking. And in fact, you'll see some Ironstorm lists that people are running now that are running 3 Landspeeder Vengeances. Especially because you can now spam Redemptors if you want to.
I experimented a variation of that with 3 damage plasma everywhere with the Redemptors and the Vengeances, and it was cute. I don't know if it was great, but once again, it needs more reps. So
if you do like a Thunderstrike, I think it gets interesting. But again, my challenge with a Redemptor is we still live in a world in which Eldari is very, very dominant. And Eldari walk up and just auto delete 2 Redemptors with Fire Dragons. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And so you're playing behind the entire time that you're playing that match, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think in Eldari world, in the world of Redemptors, like, let's put it this way, the Redemptor has a hard time making my list as long as Fire Dragons continue to be as inexpensive as they are. That's the key thing I would get to.
Yeah, I can see that.
But gotcha. The cool thing I can show you guys is I can show you what I'm bringing to Worlds this year, so you can see a little bit of, and I can talk to you about my current sort of thought process about what I've got here.
Awesome, let's do it. Hot new tech right out of the strategic.
I can't change it anymore.
Yeah.
I can talk to you about some of my decision points here. I can tell you that in comparison with last year, I am far more sure of the choices here. Can you guys see this now?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for the big reveal? Here's the really exciting and probably unsurprising part. So we got Azrael, is Wrath of the Rock, right? Angels of the Roaring Lion, right? Had to, right? And then we've got Azrael. If you're playing Dark Angels and you're not playing Azrael, I don't know what you're doing. Combi Lieutenant, I don't think that's surprising. And then, guys, I'm finally on the team. Lion finally. They were like
Team Lion. Let's go.
They were like enough buffs, right? Where I was like, yeah, they gave him enough buffs where I was like, okay, well, this is actually officially just kind of ridiculous, right? And look, you still have to play this character right, and there's a lot of ways to do it. However, what I will say is, he is a character who wants to play turns 3, 4, and 5 really hard. And in turns 1 and 2, it's the shadow of him. That's like, would you like to have the Lion heroic into you, right? The other thing that I'm thinking is, I think there's going to be a lot of AdMech and a lot of Tau. And I actually think they don't like this guy very much. But Kyle, they just shoot at you. But they got to get.
We out here are very concerned about AdMech. We are very concerned about where AdMech are at right now.
Lion is. I got some answers for you. So the Lion is is first of all, if you get to Rust Stalkers or something like that, you will shred Rust Stalkers. I don't care how many 5-ups you have. At a certain point, 16 sustained hits at 6 - 3/2 will kill you. Right, or it will put a substantial enough dent in that you'll kill you. And one of the things that held me back on Lion, by the way, was I was like, dude, if like somebody attacks you with Berserkers and they go -1 damage, you're killing like 8 guys. And I was like, okay. And then I thought about it for a second. I was like, okay, but if you heroic into them and they spend 2 CP, so you only kill 8 guys, they have 12 guys who are fighting the rest of the unit. And then you just like finish your meal the next turn. You're like, I'll just go ahead and kill the rest of them.
That was how my game with Brian went.
The math is, that is a fundamentally strong play. I think that I probably don't have to convince anyone of the virtue of the Lion, but I will tell you that Fight First is very strong. Uppy Downy is very strong, especially in the late turns where you're like, oh man, it's turn 5 and I drew Sabotage. Good news. I got 6 points for you, right? It's late game and I drew behind enemy lines and all my stuff's dead. Cool. Just go on over there, right? The ingress threat is pretty real. As far as Tau goes, again, they have to get within 12 inches. It turns out that you would be delighted to have them come within 12 inches because that is the point at which you jump them with Vanguard vets, you jump them with, you engage them in such a way that it makes them unhappy. Additionally, if somebody goes in to kill the lion and they miss, it's so bad. It's so bad for them, and they have to do they have to devote a lot of resources to do it. One of my rules for people for like games is, if you, I know this sounds like really obvious, but like, believe me, it's like actually really good advice. If something would be great if it worked and cause you to lose the game if it didn't, do not do that thing. Because it does not matter how good the result is, right? If it would cause you to lose the game, do not do that. And like, there's a bunch of stuff you could do to try and kill the lion. It's like, okay, yeah, but if it fails, I lose the game. And people will do that thing. So get your opponent to do, getting your opponent to do stuff that's stupid is like great. And people will do it all the time. Okay, so I will move on from the lion because I think there's not much else to say there. I have intercessors on my home objective. I think that's the best buy right now. I think that infiltrators don't sticky. They're not OC2. They don't put out 20 shots. They don't have a power fist. They also cost 20 points more. You name it. I think it's worse. 2 units of Dev Centurions. I didn't go to 3 because the list needs to have enough movement. I really did think about it. The 2 units of Dev Centurions, usually you're going to put 1 on the board to keep your opponent honest. Against Raven Guard last night, I actually regretted not just putting both of them on the board and then just moving into the lane. We were on table 1. And again, if you can predict which lane your opponent's going to move into, they will just kill whatever's in that lane. They're great for clearing AdMech infantry because of the missiles. They are going to, depending on what, either hit on 3s or 4s, wound on 2s, right? And they put out a lot of shots. And then they're legitimately hard to remove. The las cannons are good for killing chickens. They're good for popping shots at riptides. They're good at, this is if you run into like a bunch of demon princes, from EC or something like that, you cut cover on them and you have a real chance of killing them, right?
Yeah.
In a shocking turn of events, I took 2 units of Deathwing Knights. I'm sure that is absolutely astonishing.
Controversial.
Right? Maces. One of the things, by the way, that really sold me on these guys is when they are standing around the lion, they go from like, it'll probably kill that thing to, it'll definitely kill that thing. They love to reroll ones to hit. They love to reroll ones to hit. It's miraculous. It's so good. Like, I was genuinely surprised. I was like, oh wow, like this is what they needed, because you're used to putting oaths on them. Like sometimes you oath something and you're like, oh yeah, I happen to get there, but like most of the time you don't bother because it's like, you hit on 2s. But their damage increases substantially. My one of the fellows who I play regularly was like, yeah, he was playing Deathwing Knights, and he's like, oh, those actually kill me when they reroll everything. I was like, yeah, they sure do. Here is another unit that I have become sold on. Incursors. I think Incursors are a really good data sheet right now. They scout. They have legitimate melee. They get 15 attacks with sustained at 4 -1/1. That's good. When elves get close to them, they blow up their haywire mine. I played Tau recently, and in the saddest moment of all time for them, they got close. I blew up basically a ghost keel, one of the most annoying units in Tau, because it's like, I'm 160 points and I'm blown up, right? And so you have to get close to it to kill it, and then it has 2 little idiots who blanket damage. He came out to kill the Incursors, killed 3 of them. The Incursors proceeded to throw the landmine, do 6 damage to him, throw a grenade, do 4 more damage to him. So he's at 2. And the next turn, I think the Ghost Keel was like, I can't take it anymore. Hazardous, overcharged, died, right? And then I was like, and then the Incursors followed that up by charging a Riptide and becoming OC4, stealing an objective, right? The Incursors were just like, we will win the game for you. Thank you. You're welcome, right? They're just a legitimately good unit. And to boot, they make the rest of your army +1 to hit. That's like outrageous. They have like, I think I might have talked to you. No, maybe I didn't talk to you guys about this last time. That Walter Langendorf, who's a Necrons player, told me a really wise thing, which he was like, look, sometimes GW just staples like 8 rules to one data sheet. And there's like no real reason why. And his example was the Combi Lieutenant. It's why we take the Combi Lieutenant, right? He's like, okay, what's he got? Well, he's got a reactive move. Okay, that's cool. He's got a Lone Op. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, your whole army gets to reroll 1s to wound on this objective. Why? I don't really know, right? Like,
got a 5-up, feel no pain.
Feel no pain. He's got like
his combat doesn't suck.
Yeah. Why?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that one model has grenades. He has grenades.
Right. His grenades. Like, again, yeah, they're just like GW was like, I don't know, throw some more stuff on that data sheet, and they just accidentally put like 5 good things on there, right? And so it's like, so I think that's what they did with Incursors. I think Incursors are not so good that I took huge numbers of them, but I think 1 unit's good. I think that right now, for my money, there's nothing wrong with Scouts, but I think that they outclass Scouts a little bit because they also stick around a little bit longer. Scouts in my army tend to be a unit that will pop because they are out doing dangerous work, and they have a 4-up, which really stands out, right? A 3-up already kind of stands out, but a 4-up really stands out.
They have a tendency to get to be speed bumps a little bit. So
yeah, it's too easy. Stern Guard, unshocking. This was up until about a week and a half ago was a 10-man. A 10-man is definitely not bad with Azrael. They're obnoxious. It's a different play style. What you do with them is you wait until turns 4. You come out, kill something like a tank, kind of whatever you want, right? Assume it's not a Catan, right? Or like a Guo with a 4-up, right? You will just disintegrate it, right? Because you just like dependably a unit of Stern Guard puts out about 6-ish wounds. With Azrael, it's a little over. So that's one part. But then what you would do is you would just be like, okay, cool. I've got this 10-man and you have to expend energy other places. I'm going to charge onto the objective. And now you can have fun trying to drill through my 20 wounds at -1 to wound, 3-up, 4-up. And it has protection against mortals. It has just a stupid number of attacks in close combat. 4
don't forget
their guy for some reason.
Don't forget their bolt pistols have devastating too.
Do they really?
They do.
I didn't even know that.
This has come up. Wow, this has come up for me.
Yeah.
I spent 2 turns in combat with a Caladius grav tank. And I'm just like, I wonder, Stern Guard. Oh, look at that! Blop blop blop. Mortal wounds to the grav tank. Down it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That dude. That's hilarious.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and hilariously, Azrael has no pistol, nope. So he's just like, Stern Guard, get him, right?
Kill it. That's awesome.
This is the most debatable unit, is the Hammer Strike. It was originally a unit of Bolt Inceptors. So why is it a Hammer Strike? It's the second vehicle in here, right after the Lion, which is great when your opponent draws bid and just can't do it. There's just an auto redraw on turns 1 and 2 or whatever. The Hammer Strike is interesting. It is not a perfect vehicle, and so I'll talk to you a little bit about Bolt Inceptors. Bolt Inceptors right now are quite good. And in fact, when I played in Raven Guard, I was like, man, I could use some Bolt Inceptors to just come in and pop Vanguard vets, right? To come in and pop other things like that. What I figured out is that more often than not, what I needed help with was killing vehicles. And you might say, but Kyle, the hammer strike doesn't kill vehicles. It can. It can kill light vehicles if it gets close.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is it makes it so the dev centurions can kill vehicles because they're like, okay,
cover.
now I'm shooting a Dorn and you're saving on 5s. Yep. I am shooting at a Votan land fort, and now you're taking 5s. And when you get up close with that Melta, which is not hard because the thing moves 14 inches.
Super fast.
It's very fast. And it deep strikes, which, by the way,
yes,
does not. So if your opponent is incautious and they are like, okay, I didn't put enough into the lanes to block off this objective, meaning that, like, let's say you're going second or something like that, and they're like, oh, I don't want to just give you a unit because I don't want you to be able to rapid ingress. You can be like, cool, I'll drop the hammer strike directly on the center objective. Here's 5 points for me, right? Because it's not trivial to remove. It's T9. It's 11 wounds. And then it runs around and shoots somebody with a Melta. So it does a couple different things. It actually performed better than I thought it would. Every weapon on it is strength 9, which is really bizarre. But you get 7 shots effectively. It can melt baby knights if you ran into that. It can remove cover on large blocks of infantry, which is good. And also it flies around fast. It's OC3, which is again enough to steal objectives, and it melts things, which I like. Right. So it could be Inceptors. Inceptors are still an interesting choice. I think making your opponent be worried that you're going to drop in 6 inches is good. My one challenge with them is you actually can kind of use them sometimes to kill vehicles, but like you prefer not to. You can kill infantry, but they generally have to either A, not have a 3-up or 2-up, or not be in cover. And there's certain maps where that's just like not a possibility. Like I dropped in one time to kill a miniature strategist and failed. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. So like, yeah, and then I got charged by bikes, and I spent the rest of the game shooting the bikes, but it was like not what I needed, right? It is great to make your opponent turn around, but again, if there were something in between the plasma and bolter, right? Like sometimes they just go bananas, and they're like, exploding 6s. Here's take 17 wounds, right? And like that's a good feeling. And then sometimes they're like, oh man, I didn't roll any 6s, re-rolled and got no successes. I have 6 hits, twin linked, enjoy your 2 saves. I killed an intercessor, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a little too much variance for me. Whereas the hammer strike, I think, has more legitimate threat. All right, what else is on the list?
Something to be said for the predictability and the flexibility of just being able to push the ignore cover on everything. It's the only one of the storm speeders that is universally applicable in its buff, and I think you have enough shooting in this list that you can say, okay, it's worthwhile for me to bring something that strips cover, right? With the 2 dev sense and the stern guard, right? And yeah.
I agree. So when I came to basically to Jack Harpster the day before, because he's my main guy who in the mornings I'll bounce ideas off of, and I was like, hey Jack, like, what does this need? And he was like, it needs a little bit more shooting. And I was like, okay, so I need something to make sure that when I shoot, one of the lists that I ran into that gave me trouble was the dice kind of went wrong for me, but also I made some play mistakes, and I'll own up to that against sisters. And part of it was that I was like, when I pop into the open with a unit to kill a tank, I just don't have as much certainty. I don't want them taking a 5-up. I want them taking a 6-up. I want to be able to kill a castigator. Like a castigator's an oddly difficult profile. I know it seems dumb, but it's an oddly difficult profile for Marines to kill because let's be honest, guys. You can't kill it with a Lancer. I know. Okay, you think you can kill it in a Lancer. One in 5 times you kill that vehicle with a Lancer, because if they're holding a 6, it just doesn't work. One of them bounces off, or a Lancer does what a Lancer does and is like, sorry guys, I just missed one, right? It's your like horribly unreliable friend is what the Lancer is, right? It's the guy on the team who puts in the Matrix, oh yeah, I can get a 12 into that, and they're like, sorry guys, I got a 4, and it's like, we got a 4, right? Like, sorry guys, I just only put 1 wound.
Sometimes it happens,
It seems to happen with a great level of regularity with the Lancer, right? It just doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough certitude for me, right? So I'll talk to you a little bit about these last 3 units, which is Vanguard Vets, followed up by more Vanguard Vets, followed up by a 3rd unit of Vanguard Vets. Why are there? This is the only the only unit that I took triple kit of. Okay. I will tell you why. If I was playing teams, there's definitely 3 units of these in here. And in fact, my team had told me beforehand, they're like, get the other 3rd Vanguard Vets squad. And I was like, no, like I need the Vengeance. And I was definitely wrong. Why is this in our list? The reason it's in our list is because, first of all, it's Deathwing. It's Deathwing, which is just annoying to have a unit that moves 12, gets on an objective, and goes, if you get within 6 of this, I'm going to jump you. My damage is non-trivial, and to boot, I can double my OC. Well, what if I want to shoot you to death? Well, it's actually not really that easy. It's -1 to
You're welcome to.
And I have a 4-up invuln.
You're welcome to try.
Yeah. Come chip away at these checks notes 19 points per model guys. Now, do I think JPI do more damage? I absolutely think JPI do more damage. I rolled it out earlier and I was like, yeah, they do a lot more damage, but you will be mega sad when your opponent moves onto your objective and you're like, oh yeah, these guys don't get to do that, right? The Vanguard Vets have a consistent profile. It will do some damage, but what these really exist to do, I will tell you guys a story of how I recently, in the last round of this RTT that I recently played against Emperor's Children. It's John Lennon's list. Okay, we were playing on Tipping Point. I went first, which is not optimal. As a Dark Angels player, by the way, you'd almost always like to go second.
Yeah.
Going second is generally better in the game, and Dark Angels like it a lot because there's a lot we can do with Lion and things like that at the end of the game. Okay, turn 1, I draw something that... I draw Overwhelming Force, and he unfortunately had a unit of Tormentors on the objective, and I was like, okay, cool. Incursors, go, go, go. And the Incursors went out, they went out and just straight killed that unit that was on the objective. Tremendous. Love that, right? They do that very consistently. Did they die? Yes, they immediately died. That was the next thing that followed, right? They immediately got mauled by a Demon Prince. And another unit that like came in and diced them up, did whatever, don't care, got 3 points, right? The next turn, my opponent, very good player, was on his expansion and on his home objective. However, I noticed that his home objective, he had, in order to screen me out, because he was anxious about Inceptors and things like that, he didn't have his home unit on his home objective. He had his Rhino there. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I was like, 2 unit Vanguard Vets, go, go, go. So my 1 unit jumped off the expansion, charged the Rhino, and I made sure that I didn't kill the Rhino. And then a second unit waited until he had no CP left, jumped onto his expansion, charged some trivial unit. The Vanguard Vets, the 1 unit of Vanguard Vets killed the 5-man unit that was on his objective, that was on his expansion. And then they didn't kill the Rhino. What they did was they touched the Rhino, put 2 guys on his objective and doubled my OC. I gave him a 0. Yeah. And then the story doesn't quite end there, though, because he went in, he killed those guys. It took some time. And then I was like, okay, well, I really liked when I did that, so I'm going to do that again. And so I put Deathwing Knights in front as a rapid ingress. And so on the first 3 frames, I got 2 15s and he got 2 0s. And I was like, okay, the game is effectively over. Did I lose a tremendous number of units? Oh, you better believe it. And at the end of the game, I had 3 demon princes running around in my deployment zone just killing things, right? However, you don't win based on the number of points you have left. You win based on how many points you have on the board. And so I got like a 0 in the last frame and did not care, right? And so that's to say that Vanguard vets are the kind of unit that you will love if you're like, I am willing to, I will do anything to make sure I hold my expansion, that I steal my opponent's points, and that I do move blocks and things like that. They are great for that. So that's an explanation for what we're working with here, which is that this is really, it's a list built on a couple of things. So first of all, I've given you some alternative units that I'm not including, but I think are good. I think JPI are good. I think Inceptors are good. There are a bunch of units that I looked at that I was like, these are still like really solid data sheets. And so that's one of the great things about this. Like, I have no ancient weapons. I would not fault anyone for taking ancient weapons. I even contemplated, I actually thought about this. I was like, what if you put it on the Combi Lieutenant? It's like really fun.
I've thought of that too.
Because then he's running with 5 attacks at 6. I've had worse ideas.
He becomes a very, very, very legitimate epic challenge threat. He could walk in and just
he starts I'm like, look, probably don't do this, but like he like legit is pretty good. Like, I'm not playing the Gravis captain. I think he's good. I know people have had good results with like little units of ERADs. It's a little too much variance for me, but I think it's good, right? I also will say that I think that there's a very logical case for running a Calidus. I will say that we are in a meta where there are so many CP hungry armies. World Eaters is very CP hungry. Eldari is very CP hungry. Raven Guard, Emperor's Children, like all of those live and die by their CP. And frankly, Wrath does too. Wrath is like, if I run out of CP, it's like I will do a lot of stuff before I spend my last CP for a turn. I better know for sure that I'm getting to the next turn, because when I'm out of CP, I'm out of the game, basically. Other units that I would think
you're kind of that way too.
Are, again, I don't think Landspeeder Vengeance is a... What's that?
I'll say, I've been experimenting with Drakari for the last couple weeks since the new book came out, and my internet's probably not super stable right now. And the Drakari are a snowball army that needs resources to run, depending on the detachment that they take. But yeah, and they have a lot of cheap access to they have a mandatory auto take character that does the Calidus thing. But yeah, like making their CP more expensive is going to be a problem for them too. So.
Yeah,
question
I
about your
Drakari as well.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, testing into Drakari. I played against Cody Giroux, who's a very, very gifted Drakari player, quite possibly, the best as far as they come. As far as I think him and Skari are as good as it gets, and he was definitely struggling to find some footing with the army, in that the things that it used to do really well, it doesn't do as well anymore. Like it used to be like here's the court, point click delete, point click delete, point click delete, right? But I will say that and I would say, by the way, that before the Codex, a good Drakari player had a pretty good matchup into Dark Angels. I think it was probably like an 8-12. I think it's reversed now. I think Dark Angels is more of a 12,
Okay.
and then the Drakari is more of an 8, because some of their tools just. I mean, I think you're still playing Reaper's Wager, and I think that some of their tools aren't quite as good as they were. There's no beast packs. That's a bummer. The some of the, like, what was the other thing that was the court was bananas, right? Some of their pieces that were just like unlimited damage, right? I think are gone. But I think that's a deep book that's going to get better as people work on it. It probably needs like a little help from GW. I think, but like I don't think it's a bad army at all.
Yeah, I've been. It's a very, very, very different play style, and I was like kind of went into it thinking one of the things I came out of Challengers Cup realizing was that I'm not very good with like deployment shenanigans and like redeploys and rapid ingress and that kind of stuff, and so trying to play an army that's going to force me to do that will probably overall make me a better player. Which leads me back to the question I was going to ask you originally, which was. I see you're down to the 2 units of Deathwing Knights. Your reserves, your strategic reserves are kind of eaten up by maybe a Dev Cent and some of the Vanguard vets. What scenarios do you consider reserving Deathwing Knights on?
I always reserve 1. You always reserve 1 because it keeps your opponent honest.
Always,
and also because the teleport. Yep.
Okay.
The teleport homer is great. You put the teleport homer out there, and you really do want to drop near it. But remember, this is important. You only have to drop 1 guy within 3 inches. So then you string. And remember, the other thing to say too is your opponent then has to put enough things in the lane to dissuade you from saying, I think I can drop on that objective and I'll maybe lose 1 or 2 guys. And then I'm going to get 5 points for it, right? Because again, you win the game on points. You don't win the game on how many dudes you still got alive, right? And so I think that in general, in most of my games, what goes up is 1 unit of Dev Centurions, 1 unit, the Hammer Strike, and so 1 unit of Dev Centurions, Hammer Strike, and 1 unit of Deathwing Knights. And the reason we do that, or I guess I should say I do that, is because the Vanguard vets go out and score points. They go out and threaten things. They go out and sit on expansion. They go out and do everything else. And so I can drop 1 in, but if I had JPI, I probably would put 1 JPI up, because JPI, again, are better at go steal this objective and kill the thing that's there. Vanguard vets, maybe if you're playing Crude or something, or you're whatever, but like I don't have a lot of faith.
Right.
Like if you go in, let's put it this way. Let's say you charge your opponent's home objective and there's intercessors there and they AOC, you're getting like 1, maybe 2 guys, right? And then they're going to punch you back with the Power Fist, and the Power Fist and the other stuff, they probably kill like, a maybe 2 guys ish, right? If they get lucky. And then it's like, okay, well, I didn't steal anything, right? Deathwing Knights always steal, right? If you let them, they will come in and they will take your stuff, right? I'll also say that the Hammer Strike in general, because you drop it in and then it moves 14, or you drop them in with the Dev Sense and you're like, this is going to be your little helper. He's going to come in and cut cover and pop some shots into this thing, and then you Dev Sense finish it off, right? That's fine too, right? Or alternatively, if you drop the Hammer Strike in and you're like, I'm going to rapid ingress this, I'm going to move it 14, I'm going to melt to your dudes, and then I'm going to steal it. That's pretty dependable because of just the sheer AP of it.
Let me double check something with you. So the way that the reserves and strategic reserve rules are written, you can put up to 500 points in strategic reserves, but deep strike units go into non-strategic reserve, and so they don't count towards that 500 point limit. Okay.
It's how you can end up with 1,000 points that are off the table. Is because if you're playing some army like GSC or something like that, they get to have 500 in true deep strike, right? They get to have 500 in reserves, and they can pick, and they can do things beforehand, like they can pick units up, just like we can pick up the lion, right? Put the lion back down, right? They can start the game and be like, okay, these 3 units are going to reserves or something like that. That's a way of getting around that. But in general, you get 500 points in deep strike, 500 points in reserves.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever really considered playing that way. I always just kind of held myself to the 500 points. So your little Watcher in the Dark is doing Watcher in the Dark things.
I've been. It's like the famous story of like the guy. The calls are coming from inside the house, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's been a little bit of a wild conversation, guys, but it's always a pleasure. It's always such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. No, it's always good to be able to come in and pick your high level player's brain like this. So we'll be. So I take it you're probably got to go. We will be looking forward to seeing how you do at Worlds, and I'm excited to hear that you're.
I'll say too. Oh no, I was just going to say one of the things that happened last time I came on is that I had some folks who sent me messages and were like, "Hey Kyle, I'm thinking about this and whatever." I love that. I love to trade ideas with people. I think that I in no way have a monopoly on what's good, and I love to always hear ideas. So even though I'm loquacious, I am very talkative about the Army. I love to listen and hear what people are working on and see if I can help too.
Yeah, man. No, like you definitely helped me out a lot with my Challengers Cup stuff. The one unit of DevSense I ended up taking definitely did a lot of work for me, and I would not have done as well as I did personally without that. So yeah, definitely
I'm always glad if I can get trade ideas. And again, you guys persistently were like, dude, you should be testing Lion. You should take Lion. And eventually the dam had to break. I was like, you know what, man?
Yeah.
All right. It's time to party.
And
I will say too that sometimes I will say this too. If you try a unit and you're like, this is not working for me, one of the follow-up questions should be like, okay, well, how are you playing this? Right? How you're playing it will have a lot of effect upon, like, I know there's some units that people like that I'm just like, I don't get how you're playing this, right? And again, it has to do with the style of how we do things. So it's always good as a follow-up question too. So, well, wonderful. Right, thanks for having me, guys. And sorry, I've lost electricity, and there's their calls are coming from inside the house over here. This is what it's like to have children: is you just slowly go back to a more base level of existence, right? You're like,
fair enough.
Just my dignity is all I ask, right? So,
all right, Kyle, keep it real.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And that's our preview, folks, of Dr. Kyle McCord's list for the World Championships of Warhammer 40,000 in Atlanta. Thank you all for listening to this bonus episode this month of The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our full episode will come out later on in November with Heath and I and maybe potential guests, because you never know. It's always a surprise. So don't miss the surprise by subscribing, liking, and commenting below if you're watching us on YouTube or on your preferred podcasting service. And last but not least, we would like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. Until next time, I am Bailey from Dank Wargaming. Stay loyal, Angels.